Many an ex-convict is rehabilitated, but what do you do with a jail that served its time? Alcatraz, the rock on which the records of many of America's worst criminals have founded.
Yeah, there's quite a few dudes from D.C. that have been on the rock. Isaac Taylor, Flick Taylor, William Deloach, man. You can Google him on Alcatraz. His name will come up on this prisoners act. They don't have so many prisoners that it ain't like they had no thousands of prisoners with the Alcatraz.
Frank Morris, born September 1st, 1926 at Gallinger Hospital, later changed to DC General. He was abandoned by his mother, Clara, and father when he was a child and orphaned by age 11. He got into a lot of trouble as a youth and was later sentenced to the National Training School for Boys in Northeast, right off Bladensburg Road and South Dakota Avenue. So they built this reform school at the now Fort Lincoln area to house juvenile delinquents in the 1800s. First, it was called the United States Reform School Farm. It was a big compound, and as you can see, they was putting them boys to work. And then it changed to the Reform School of the District of Columbia. And lastly, one final name change to the National Training School for Boys in 1908, NTSB. Housing some of the most vicious juvenile offenders in the city, both black and white. And yes, it was segregated.
When I was up National Training School, and I stayed up there a good little while, and then we had a ride with the white boys up there. You understand? One of our homeboys, knocked the white boy out up there, and it caused a big ruckus and whatnot. Very racist, tense joint back then.
The dorms were called cottages, and these juveniles were convicted of federal crimes. Some of them were sent from other parts of the country, just like Charles Manson. He was in the DC Training School for Boys in 1951. He had broke out of another reform school in Indiana, stole a car, robbed some gas stations, and then finally, when he was caught, they sent him to NTSB at 16 years old. But as we all know from history, that facility didn't help Charles Manson, considering the path he chose that led him to becoming one of the most famously known criminals, as the head of a cult who basically made his followers slaughter some rich folks in Hollywood. But Frank Morris was sent to NTSB in 1940, then another reform school in Ohio in 1943, and then in 45, they sent him back to DC to the training school where he stayed until 1948. After that, Frank graduated from the juvenile world of crimes in his late teens. Once he was released, he moved around a lot, even making his way to Florida and entered the adult facilities with a long resume of breaking and entering, narcotics, and armed robbery. With the IQ of 133, ranked in the top 2% of the general population in intelligence, he escaped from Louisiana State Prison while serving a 10-year sentence. So most of his time was actually spent in the correctional facilities up to this point. After that escape, he stayed free for about a year, and they finally got him, but only this time he was going to Alcatraz as inmate AZ-1441 on January 20th, 1960. By this time, quite a few infamous DC prisoners had already passed through and landed on that rock.
Deloach was a living legend, man. I met Deloach on the street, man, and then we was locked up together in '68 on the tier together. Me and Deloach got to be cool. Deloach told me some shit, man, that happened in this case with France Harper, Joe Jackson, and he told me some shit that I'll take you to the grave with me, man.
Deloach was known infamously throughout D.C. and the federal system. Naeball witnessed firsthand the fear that he instilled in the hearts of the correctional officers.
He began planning his escape within a year of his stay at Alcatraz. They created a raft and constructed lifelike dummies created in the image of paper mache and human hair collected from the prison barbershop to place in their cells. They stole prison tools for digging And through sheer will and determination, they carved through that wall, making the hole big enough to fit through, and made their escape. So apparently, after Morris and the other 2 men escaped from Alcatraz, law enforcement was searching everywhere hoping they would pop up. A ship even spotted a body floating in the water about 20 miles northwest of the Golden Gate Bridge, and this was a month after the escape, July 17, 1962. But the crazy part is that they didn't retrieve the body or report it to the authorities until October of '62, which was 4 months after the escape. And who knows, maybe it was one of the escapees, maybe not. They say the body was dressed in clothes that resembled a prison uniform and that it looked like Frank Morris. They even found bones that washed up from the ocean, but no DNA evidence for any of the escapees were a match. So whether they were killed by the vicious ocean, sharks, or they made it is all up for debate. But that would be crazy if Frank Morris made his way back to DC and lived low-key, hiding in plain sight, back in his hometown. If he was alive, he would be 96 years old today. The prison closed 1 year after the escape in 1963. After 29 years of operation, the bodies were never found.
Alcatraz was, handful of motherfuckers, man.
Yeah, I heard it was like the Supermax of his day.
Yeah, it was, man. Alcatraz right now stands as the most infamous prison ever in the history of America. Ain't never been another prison like Alcatraz. Alcatraz was one of a kind, man. Surrounded by water, shock infested water, freezing water, man, on the island. Out there in San Francisco, man. Escape proof. They say motherfuckers ain't never got away. 3 motherfuckers escaped, but they never found their bodies. And they never turned up anyway. The standard reason that the water sucked, the water they had a makeshift raft and everything. I don't think they made it back to land,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that, the classic movie by Clint Eastwood, Escape from Alcatraz.
Yeah. That was based on a true story.
Right.
Yeah. Before then, ain't nobody never. It was a hell of a lot of attempts